I'm Maria Shakil. Electoral bonds were to make the poll process transparent. Instead, they have been declared unconstitutional and arbitrary. The bonds allow donors and parties to keep their association hidden from the public. Only the State Bank of India could track the donations. A 5-judge bench headed by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud ruled that the donor secrecy is violative of Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. CJI Chandrachud set the tone for the verdict by stressing that information about funding of political parties is essential for the effective exercise of the choice of voting. The SBI has now put out all the details of the donors. The data, though, is still not complete. It does not disclose exact one-on-one correspondence between the purchaser and redeemer of each particular electoral bond. But one thing is clear, that Future Gaming and Hotel Services is the largest donor, acquiring bonds worth 13 billion rupees from April 2019 to January 2024. And the BJP was the biggest beneficiary, securing almost half of the bonds worth 120 billion rupees donated between 2018 and 2024. India's biggest lottery company and infrastructure giant, major mining groups and telecom companies were among the top donors on the list. The political party to receive the second highest amount of donations via the bonds was the TMC, while the Congress received just 14 billion rupees. In India, there is no limit on how much a party can spend on its publicity, as long as it does not spend the money on campaigning of any specific candidate. On the eve of the election dates on the big fight, we ask, can the relationship between money and politics be ever transparent? Joining me on the show, Supriya Shrinate, National Spokesperson of the Congress. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi is Rajya Sabha MP of the BJP. We have Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner of India. Major General Anil Verma is head of ADR. Also, Nilesh Tribhuvan is advocate of the Supreme Court. I'm going to begin with you, Supriya Shrinate. Why is the Congress looking at linkages? Because the data is still not complete, and why do you say that these companies who donated electoral bonds actually got benefits from the government?
I think I speak with data and with nothing else. And if you see the data that's been put out in the public domain by the SBI, after much coaxing by the Supreme Court and after a rather harsh warning from the Supreme Court, it tells you a very serious picture. And if you will not interrupt me for just the next 30 seconds, I want to spell it out for you. Electoral bonds were collected for the last 6 years. Data is out only for the last 5. There are mismatches between the recipient and the donors column. One doesn't understand why, but those are different things. The reality is that this is the biggest extortion racket that was being run by Mr. Narendra Modi and the central government. And I say it with all responsibility that I bring to this debate. It was, if you see the kind of people who were making donations, and if you see the dates, and if you see the kind of raids that were happening, there are 18 companies that I picked up, and this is just, surveys after surveys that I picked up, 18 companies which start from DLF to, Dr. Reddy's Labs, to DV's, to Navyug Engineering, to United Phosphorus, IFB Infra, Yashoda Hospitals, Hetero Drugs, Haldia, Chennai Green Foods, Hero Moto, Future Gaming, like you yourself said, Jindal Steel and Power, Microlab, NCC, Kalpataru, and of course Shirdi Sai and Aurobindo Pharma. Now, these are companies where hard data is there to prove that these companies were being raided by the CBI, by the income tax, and by the ED. Those dates of raids are there in the public domain. And all of these companies went and bought electoral bonds soon after those raids. Okay. And that is the quid pro quo. If this is not quid pro quo, then what is? Okay. I mean, how are you going to explain the fact that there are companies who are being raided by the government and the party who is the ruling party was accepting money from these so-called tainted companies? I also want to, 1 second, Maria, just one more point I want to make. This is the extortion racket I'm talking about. The other is a cut racket. There are various companies, and those companies range from Mega Engineering to a whole host of other companies, Serum Institute, Vedanta, Torrent, IRB Infra, Apco Infra, Wonder Cement, Bright Star, Mittal. I mean, all of these companies are companies who bought electoral bonds. They donated electoral bonds. And soon after those donations, within a month or two, they got huge government projects in either BJP ruled states or central government projects. If this is not quid pro quo, then what is?
Okay. Sudhanshu Trivedi, when the electoral bond schemes were launched in 2018, the BJP had claimed that this scheme would make political funding more transparent. But instead today it is being seen as a move of quid pro quo. Did the BJP get its assessment wrong?
No. I would like to remind, at the time the rule was that till 20,000 rupees, if somebody is donating, there is no requirement of maintaining any record. That's why eco ho raha, jara isko theek karwa dijiyega.
Ji.
That's why if you remember the Aam Aadmi Party, when it started, they said that they will have a tea party in which the entry fee will be 20,000. Why the figure of 20,000? Because at the time the Congress uses to have 90% of their donation in that 20,000 category. In that case, even if the court would have asked, there would have been no data at all, because there was no requirement, or that was 100% cash. Here, if the court has asked, then there is a clear-cut transaction details available through a proper instrument of finance. There it would have been a total cash. So we have done this. But court, whatever the decision court has taken, we accept that. But on the other hand, I would like to say, the Congress party and our main opposition parties, several other parties, uses to cry that it is wrong, still they have taken 1,461 crore rupees. And Trinamool Congress, which is having just one state, Congress is having just 3 states and out of power since 10 years. They are having 1,461 crores. BJP is having 6,000 crores. Means 4 times Congress, despite we are having 17 state governments and central government. And Trinamool Congress, which is their ally, got 1,600 crore rupees, 1,600 crore in one state. And other thing, they were saying that government should come clearly and tell the details. So first, they should not have accepted, and if they have accepted and they were firm on their commitment, they should have told.
But the point being made by Supriya here is, Dr.
We have
Trivedi,
received this much of money from that.
But the point here being made by your political opponents is that Enforcement Directorate is actually an extortion directorate.
Yes. Let me complete the sentence. I would like to say, the instances they are quoting, the instances can be other way around also. That even if somebody has given the bond, still Enforcement Directorate had gone to them. So I would like to say, it is like, for the understanding of the viewers, there are 10 persons standing and 4 are saying that our bank account should not be revealed. 6 are saying that the bank account details should be revealed by the government. But those 6 are not delivering their own account. भाई मैं तो बता सकता हूं ना कि मेरे अकाउंट में कितना पैसा, वो भी नहीं बताऊंगा, कहां से आया वो भी नहीं बताऊंगा. बट गवर्नमेंट करे तो पैसा ले भी लूंगा, बताऊंगा भी नहीं और हल्ला भी मचाऊंगा. So these 3 characteristics exposes our opponent.
Okay, Supriya, respond to this.
After the figures have come, the things have become quantitative also.
Okay, then I go back to Dr. Trivedi.
मुझे लगता है सुधांशु जी के लिए थोड़ा सिलेबस से बाहर का सवाल हो गया ये सिर्फ विभाजन का सवाल नहीं था, तो थोड़ा सा सिलेबस के बाहर हो गया, थोड़ा पढ़ के आ जाते तो अच्छा था. The way you designed the electoral bonds, in an ideal world, the recipient is not supposed to know the identity of the donor, sir. आपको तो यही नहीं पता है, तो हम बताना भी चाहे तो नहीं बता सकते, और हम तो सीना ठोक के बोल रहे हैं हमारे बता दीजिए किसने दिए. सरकार के पास SBI के थ्रू डेटा आ सकता है, आप बताइए ना हमारे 1100 करोड़ किसने दिए. लेकिन शर्त यह है कि आपके 6100 करोड़ किसने दिए, इस पर भी चर्चा हो जाए. You are telling me that somebody here, don't, ये इसमें जलेबी मत बनाइए, सीधी बात करिए. DLF raided, they went and bought bonds. DV's Lab raided, went and bought bonds. Navyug Engineering raided, not raided. They have not even been probed for the tunnel that they were building in Uttarakhand, जहां पर 41 लोग फंसे थे. 90 करोड़ दिए इन्होंने बॉन्ड के थ्रू. United Phosphorus raided, got a bond. IRP Infra Agro raided, got a bond. Yashoda Hospital raided, got bonds worth 162 crore rupees. You tell me something. From Hetero Drugs raided, got bonds. Haldia Engineering raided, got bonds. Chennai Greenwoods raided, got bonds. Hero Moto raided, got bonds. Future Gaming, ED attached 406 crore worth of its property.
Dr. Trivedi, is this just coincidence?
Worth 100 crore rupees. So are you telling me that any of these people were being raided by the central government agencies, और गपागप पैसा जो था वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी ले रही है? बड़ा बढ़िया नजीर बना रहे हैं. सरकार रेड कर रही है छापा, और ये वसूली कर रही है. पार्टी वसूली कर रही है,
चलिए, Dr. Trivedi, please respond to this. You can't say that this is law taking its course. It cannot be just coincidence.
वसूली आपने देश को
सुप्रिया
वसूली
जी
तंत्र
के-
बना दिया,
सुनिए,
सीबीआई इनकम टैक्स को वसूली बना दिया।
अरे अभी
ये
बता
किया
रहे हैं
आपने।
मैडम, लेट मी कंप्लीट द सेंटेंस।
can
सुनिए,
complete 10
मैं
sentences
सिलेबस
and
के
you
इसी
will not
पॉइंट
be
पे
able
लाना
to
चाह रहा
get
था। नाउ
सिलेबस
सुप्रिया
के
जी
बाहर
herself
का
has
सवाल आ
said
गया।
that the
सिलेबस के
recipient
बाहर का
doesn't
सवाल आ
have the
गया,
access.
सुधांशु जी।
Sir, let me complete the sentence. अरे सिलेबस पे इसी पॉइंट पे आके आप फंस गई मैडम।
अरे आप
हम तो यही कह रहे थे, आपने खुद बोल दिया कि recipient doesn't know about it and still you are asking the statement from BJP that they should tell. अरे भाई, अब क्या तरीका है बीच में डिस्टर्ब करने का?
बड़े पड़े
सुप्रिया,
मैं बता रहा हूँ,
listen
बात
to what
यही
Sudhanshu
है,
is saying.
कोई बात नहीं, यही बात है।
Supriya, listen to
Now
what
I
Sudhanshu is saying.
think
He was
Supriya
listening
Sinha
to you.
should apologize that अब देखिए इसीलिए होता है, when you are stuck then there is no way other than just disturbing and trying to shout. Now I want to say, now whatever she has said, it is a clear-cut evidence that the Congress party now should apologize when they were asking that BJP should divulge the details. And to the honesty, I would like to say that she has accepted that they have received how much? 1,461 crores, which they term as black money. मतलब एक्सटॉर्शन हम कर रहे थे, पैसा आपको दे रहे थे. If divide by state,
अरे सरकार में
Congress has
आप है,
got
एजेंसी
around
आपके अधीन है,
570
प्रोजेक्ट
crores
आप
per
दे
state.
रहे हैं,
अरे भाई
कंपनी
प्लीज,
बॉन्ड आपको
गलत
दे
बात
रही
है
है,
ये.
सवाल हमसे
Don't
पूछिएगा।
shout.
क्या बात करते हैं
मैं
आप
सिर्फ
सुधांशु?
फैक्ट बता रहा हूं.
कुछ तो बुद्धि भी लगाकर बोल लिया करिए कभी-कभी। क्या वही बात छानते रहते
अरे
हैं?
भाई,
ये वो
अब
जलेबी
let me
मत बनाया
complete the
करिए,
sentence.
सीधे पॉइंट पर आया
सुप्रिया
अरे
करिए।
भाई, आपको
सरकार
चीखने
आगे,
लगी.
प्रोजेक्ट
सुन
आप
लीजिए।
दे रहे हैं।
अरे
एक्सटॉर्शन
पॉइंट
आप
पे
कर
बोल
रहे
रहा
हैं।
हूं, अभी
Supriya ji,
पॉइंट ऐसा
Supriya ji,
बोलूंगा आपको सारा
अब आप
समझ में
अपने-
When
आएगा.
you were making your point, he was listening to you. Please listen to him. Yeah.
Because he's not making potent arguments. I'm not
I
Okay,
was
Dr. Trivedi,
patiently
please
listening
make your
because I
point
was
and then I'll bring in
knowing
others,
that
please.
she's
Yes.
coming to the point.
हाँ.
Just let's me complete the sentence. Actually, if you divide by state, then it comes for Congress, it comes more than 600 crores per state. In our case, it comes 350 crores per state.
Sudhanshu ji, do you
So
even hear
they were
yourself?
saying that
You're sounding
if we were
senile
doing
when you make
extortion
those
as per their
arguments.
statement.
You are sounding
अरे भाई,
senile,
क्या
ये
तरीका है
WhatsApp
बार बार
के
डिस्टर्ब
खर्रे
करने
मत
का?
पढ़िए।
क्या
आप
तरीका है? मैं
WhatsApp
तो
के
आपके
खर्रे
बीच में
पढ़
नहीं
रहे
बोल रहा
हैं
था.
आप
अब आप
WhatsApp
शाउटिंग
के
करने
खर्रे
लगी.
पढ़ रहे हैं, वो मत कीजिए. व्हाट्सएप के खर्रे यहाँ पर आकर मत पढ़िए. ये बेवकूफी का ज्ञान भाजपा व्हाट्सएप पे फैला रही
Okay,
है.
Sudhanshu Trivedi, I'm going to come back to you. Let me bring in others.
अच्छा,
Dr.
मैं
S.Y.
आपको असली
Qureshi.
गान-
Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, moving away from
नहीं, it's not
politicians.
fair. It's not fair, man, Maria, कि लगातार शाउट करेंगे और उसके बाद बोलने नहीं देंगे.
Okay,
ये
Dr.
तरीका ठीक नहीं है.
Trivedi. Dr. Trivedi, go ahead.
जब मैं बोलूं, वो बोले मेरा
Okay,
फेडर
let's
डाउन
have
करिए
you only
और
on
मैं
the screen
बोलूं उनका
now.
फेडर
Yes,
डाउन
yes,
करिए.
please, yes,
क्या तो ये तरीका रहे? अदरवाइज ये तरीका नहीं हो सकता. वन साइडेड बोलेंगे उसके बाद लगातार डिस्टर्ब करेंगे. और अब मैं आपको सीधे बोलता हूं.
Go and make
अब मैं
silly
आपको
arguments.
सीधे बोलता हूं. कांग्रेस पार्टी ने विदेशियों से पैसा लिया है. इन्होंने सद्दाम हुसैन से पैसे लिए, वोल्कर रिपोर्ट, जिसके लिए नटवर सिंह को इस्तीफा देना पड़ा. ये क्या बोलेंगे? नटवर सिंह ने अपनी किताब माई ईयर्स विद, उन्होंने माई लास्ट डेज, किताब का नाम मैं भूल रहा हूं, उन्होंने लिखा, इस्तीफा दिया और कहा कि तेल के कूपन सद्दाम हुसैन ने दिए. आपको पैसे मिले, अगर आपको चैलेंज करना है, मित्रों, किन्स आर्काइव केजीबी इन द वर्ल्ड पार्ट 2, कांग्रेस पार्टी ने केजीबी से पैसा लिया. उन पर मुकदमा करिए जाके. जबरदस्त बटस की किताब स्टेट विद इन स्टेट, जिसमें लिखा हुआ है पैसा कांग्रेस पार्टी को कहां से आता था. यूरी बैडमैन की किताब जाके देखिए, वो देखिए. और सुनिए, श्वाजत एलेस्टेटे, जो कि स्विट्जरलैंड का अखबार है, उसने राजीव गांधी जी की फोटो के साथ लिखा कितना पैसा लिया. इसलिए ऐसा मत बोलिए, टू द पॉइंट बोलेंगे तो आपको पॉइंट पे बोलने में बहुत मुश्किल
Okay.
होगा. और मैंने नटवर सिंह को कोट किया
I will get a
वन
response
लाइफ इज नॉट एनफ, उस किताब का नाम.
I'll get a response
One life
from
is not
Dr.
enough.
Supriya.
नटवर
But
सिंह ने आपको विदेश मंत्री
but
बोला है.
before that,
इसलिए मैंने
Dr.
बाहर के बोल दिया, अंदर के बोल दिया. अब जवाब दीजिए.
While
to the point.
transparency may not be enough to fix the process of
Maria,
party
please,
funding,
no.
but would you say that this is
Maria,
a beginning?
no.
I'm going back to both the politicians.
When he
Ma'am,
was
I'm coming
talking,
to you.
आप उनको single
Ma'am,
frame
I'm
पर
coming to
दिखा
you.
रही हैं. आप
Ma'am,
मेरा
I'm coming
फेडर
to
डाउन कर रही
you.
हैं. ये
Yes.
कौन सा शो आप कर रही
Dr.
हैं?
S.Y. Qureshi, I'm coming to you, ma'am. I'm coming to you. Ma'am, I'm coming to you. Dr. S.Y. Qureshi.
Yeah, what is the question to me?
Yes, I'm asking, is this a beginning of what could lead to transparency in the electoral process?
Yes, I would take you back to the origin of the electoral bond. In the budget speech of 2017, the then Finance Minister, Mr. Jaitley, he started beautifully when he said that without transparency of political funding, free and fair elections are not possible. That was music to our ears. His second sentence was equally good. He says, for the last 70 years, we have failed to achieve that. So we expected the third sentence to bring in transparency and it undid whatever was promised. And the electoral bonds were created. Till then, every donation of more than 20,000 was reported to the Election Commission, who would then certify that yes, they have brought it to our notice. On the basis of that certificate, income tax will give them the concession. Now that was completely stopped. Electoral bonds were totally shrouded in secrecy. Even 2 crore, 20 crore, 2,000 crores, we would never know who gave what to whom, which is why we have been all protesting, civil society has been protesting, and the Supreme Court has come out with this judgment.
Okay, Major General Verma, the petition before the court was essentially to ensure that it is the beginning of the process of transparency. But the court seems to have gone several steps ahead. Would you say that, how do you find a workable and a fair relationship between money, business and politics then?
Okay. What we have to examine is the fact that is corporate funding the only way to fund our electoral system? It's not only about the elections, it's about, the functioning of the political parties. There is no denying the fact that political parties do need funding for their functioning. They have to do canvassing and various other things are there. There's no denying that. But the point is that, if 93% of their funding is from corporates, is that correct? That is what the common man has to see, the people, the citizens of this country have to see. Is there some better method? Or do we take it that this is the new normal? We accept cash, we accept black money. Everybody knows that there is a limit laid down for the expenditure for the candidates when they contest elections. Everybody also knows that the reports which they submit to the Election Commission and which ADR publishes, they don't show more than 60 to 65% of expenditure of that limit which is laid down. But on ground, it is 10 times or 20 times more than that. So everybody knows everything, but nobody is doing anything about it. So the point is that the court has also said, and the fact that the Supreme Court, a constitution bench, has completely scrapped the scheme and said that all the amendments done to the various acts were unconstitutional, it just shows how good or bad the scheme was. So, and they have also said that the government needs to come up with a better scheme. The government, it means that all the political parties have to show a will that they are, involved in the process of more transparency and some better system of funding. So this blame game of Congress versus BJP, see in our affidavit also, Maria, we had said that it is whichever party is in power, whether it is at the center or at the state, it gains because of the electoral bond scheme. And it is evident from the data which has come out now. So there are different methods which people have suggested. That firstly, and my personal opinion is that we need to cut down the expenditure. There's no limit on the expenditure which the political parties can do. So there needs to be a limit. We are not like US. We spend more money than US did in their last presidential elections. I mean, people say we are a 140 crore population, so we need more money and all that. Oh, please compare your economy with that of US. They are 25 times the size of our economy.
Yes. A quick word from the advocate as well, Nilesh, and then I bring in, and then I go back to the politicians. The question certainly is, Nilesh, the electoral bonds, to think that the overall money that is spent in elections or electioneering will come down, will require a larger cleanup and perhaps ensuring that there is consensus among various political parties. That is not to be. Then can the judiciary really intervene here?
I feel definitely the judiciary can intervene. There is no stoppage to that. But before I answer that, let me just take you through a few certain provisions. I believe the government was never intended, whichever the government. I'm not representing BJP or Congress or any other political party. But let me just tell you, when the electoral bonds were drafted, there were certain provisions wherein the government were intended to keep the transparency since the beginning. if you just focus on the clause 7, subclause 4 of the electoral bond scheme, it clearly specifically mentioned that whenever the information is required by the court or any other enforcement agencies, the information will be provided to them as and when required. The court took a different view here. The court is like, instead of only by the enforcement agencies, why don't the voter has such kind of a right? So only on that basis, I believe the entire scheme has been scrapped by the Supreme Court. And I'll tell you another instance wherein the government has added section 29C of People's Representative Act. In that specific section itself, also the political parties were mandated by this section to provide and disclose all the information to the concerned authorities. So I don't think so. The information was meant to be kept secret from any other agencies. Also, there is a KYC compliant which has been done.
The broader reforms that we keep talking about in context of poll funding, the parties will have to initiate a process. What will be that process? Ms. Srini,
Sorry,
if you
who's
can...
that question for? Is that for me?
Yes, please. That's a question for you.
Sure. I'm all for transparent funding. I'm all for progressive reforms. I'm all for electoral processes being streamlined for the larger good of democracy. But you cannot have opaque electoral bonds, and then it cannot come to light that the party in government is going after certain companies, and those companies are weaseling out their way by paying the party in power. That cannot be. The party in power cannot accept money, and its own government can't be rewarding contracts. That's the simple point I'm making. I'm also going to make one little point for the last 10 seconds, if you permit me to. We are at a juncture today where tomorrow the Election Commission is going to announce dates for election. There is one political party which is flushed with funds. BJP has perhaps more money than God can print. You can see that as a mark of its advertisements, the blitzkrieg that they're doing all across. The accounts of India's principal opposition, the Indian National Congress, are frozen. And for what? For a trivial fault of 14 lakh rupees, they want us to pay up 135 crore. Is this fair play? Is this level playing field in a democracy?
Okay.
Is this how democracy is going to work? Is a question that I leave to the larger judgment of your viewers.
All
because
right.
I think people understand the quid pro quo. People understand what this government was up to. People understand what was wrong with the electoral bonds and why the FBI was hell-bent on hiding the names that they finally
Dr.
had to
Sudhanshu
give out.
Trivedi, I'll give you the last word on the show, and also because it's the beginning of election season, the poll dates will be announced tomorrow. The question is about the level playing field, and also, if there is a party such as yours which has the kind of money, you will be able to reach out more, carry out a campaign which will be different from other political parties.
Just the initial concept of bringing the electoral bond was to have a level playing field, because there were allegations that if everything is to be given by check, then obviously in open, most of the people will prefer to give to the ruling party and less to those party in the opposition. So that's why it has been brought. Like, court has not accepted this thing, but I want to say, like in case of voting, there are two categories. One, I can be an open voter of the party, having a flag on my house. It's okay. I can be the office bearer of the party. But if I am casting the vote, it has to be remain concealed so that nobody should know whom I have voted. In the same manner, it can be two category also. I am an open contributor by a check. Even if want, I can have a flag of the party on my house also. But on the other hand, if I want to conceal, it should have been on the level playing field. But something would have come, then definitely government will try to make the process more transparent, more convenient. But again, I would like to say, those who are saying that the parties become poor, but their leaders are richest, not only the Congress party. जो कहते हैं दलित वंचित शोषित गरीबों के नेता हैं, their leaders have become richest within 10 years. There is an example in UP when Gayatri Prajapati has first filed its declaration. He was BPL, and within 10 years, 150 crore property officially. So that's why we are saying these are, and one more thing.
शर्मानी चाहिए आपको
भाई,
मैम,
अरे भाई रैकेट सुनिए,
रैकेट आप
सुनिए,
चला रहे हैं, छापा वसूली का
रैकेट
रैकेट
वो
चला
होता
रहे हैं
है।
प्रधानमंत्री जी और आप लोग मिल कर
अरे
देश
भाई,
में।
Ma'am,
गैंग चला रहे हैं
Ma'am,
सुनिए ना,
listen to me.
रैकेट तो वो
Ma'am,
होता
I
है जब
have just
सारी की
30
सारी
seconds on the
इंडस्ट्री।
show.
अच्छा,
I
एक
have
बात
just
कहता
30
हूँ,
seconds on
इन
the show.
राडिया
Sudhanshu Trivedi. Please go
सुनिए,
ahead, Sudhanshu Trivedi.
सुनिए,
Yes.
मेरे
मारिया
सवाल
जी,
का जवाब
Yes,
दे
please.
दीजिए।
जस्ट
Dr.
क्विकली,
Trivedi.
यहाँ पर
मैं
इतनी
दर्शकों से
चीजें
कहता
हुई,
हूँ,
वहाँ पर
ऑल द
पैसा
व्यूअर्स शुड
लगा।
लिसन
वहाँ पर
इन
पैसा
राडिया
लगा।
टेप a
लगा।
corporate house
हाँ
of this
भाई।
country has said
आप
कांग्रेस
बताइए
पार्टी
मुझे।
तो अपनी दुकान
बताइए
है
मुझे।
इट इज नेवर सेट फॉर
बताइए।
बीजेपी
जो छापा
इन राडिया
चला रहे हैं,
टेप देयर वाज अ
छापा
फेमस
वसूली कर रहे हैं।
सेंटेंस बाय ए
दस पार्टी
कॉर्पोरेट
को पैसा
हाउस
दो।
व्हिच हैज
दस
सेड
सरकार
कांग्रेस
को
पार्टी
अट्रैक्ट
अपनी
देगी।
दुकान है
दस
बस
पैसा आएगा,
नाउ एवरीबॉडी नोज हु
वहाँ
वाज द
पर
दुकान
जांच बंद हो
Okay, since the
And
election
even
dates
today,
are going to be announced
Rajiv
tomorrow,
Gandhi Foundation got 100
let's
crores
end
when
this
they were in power.
discussion on a note because
Across channels.
Supriya, you'll
That's
be
what we
entering
do.
the battlefield. Dr. Trivedi is member of parliament. Maybe you'll be meeting each other very soon in different capacities. So let's end this discussion on a note which is more pleasant. Supriya, 20 seconds and then the last word to Dr. Trivedi. 20 seconds, ma'am.
There is no unpleasantness. I stand for the rights of people to know exactly who is paying who and how much and at what time. I think in a democracy, if the Supreme Court of India believes that this bond has to be struck down, who am I and who is Dr. Trivedi to sit here on judgment that the bonds were so good? They were
Okay.
not.
Dr.
And
Trivedi?
precisely they've been struck
Dr.
down.
Trivedi?
It's as simple as that. There's
Elections,
no unpleasantness.
elections are
I will
around the
continue
corner.
to
Yes.
fight
At
as
least,
vigorously as
at least
possible
there
for the
has to
rights
be
of my
effort
people
in
and the rights of this
ensuring
country.
that the process is
I
not
appreciate
compromised.
the view of Sonia.
हाँ.
Maria ji, I
Ji.
appreciate what Supriya ji has said. The Supreme Court has struck down on electoral bonds. Supreme Court has restored the membership of Rahul Gandhi. Supreme Court has given judgment against us on Chandigarh. Now, will Congress apologize that the Rahul Gandhi went abroad and defamed the Indian democracy, that the entire
How
democratic
did it defend
institution
the
have
democracy?
finished?
It's
Then
a-
how come
it's
the
a-
judgment
it's a
of the
where in your
electoral
mind.
bond has come?
You really should
This
go and
is
use your mind
when the
check.
thing
You
comes
should
in
go
your
and consult
favor,
a
it is the
psychologist
victory of the
first.
democracy.
As a friend,
When it
I
goes
say this.
against you,
Exchange
the democracy is
appointment
finished.
लीजिए।
All
ये
right,
दिमाग में
Dr.
आपके ना
Sudhanshu Trivedi, we end on that
concept
note.
बन गए।
Thank you so much, Supriya Shinate, S.Y. Qureshi, Major General Anil Verma, and Nilesh Tribhuvan. Thank you so much for watching the big fight. I'll be back next week with another issue, and perhaps we'll have less fight and more conversation. Thanks so much for watching.